What's up, bookworms? Welcome to episode 123 of the Cantina Book Club podcast, where readers can find interviews with the authors of all genres. I'm Megan, self-proclaimed content queen, here to bring you insights from the authors themselves. Each week features a Cantina conversation with an author, sometimes a returning guest, and sometimes it's someone new. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on an episode, and please browse through existing episodes so that you can catch a previous interview about a book that you finished. Today's episode features a chat with Kristine Delano. We're talking about her book, The Lies We This is one of those conversations where I thought the book was like pretty good, but the conversation was great. It was so fun. I love talking with Kristine and getting her insights on the story, how the parallels to society, and she actually has experience in as a woman in Wall Street, and that's what she brought to her financial thriller, if you will. So some spoilers may or may not pop up in this conversation, but the episode is more enjoyable if you've read it anyway. So I don't know what. So if you're wondering why I don't trust her daughter Erica, then add this episode to your playlist. Pick up a copy of The Lies We Trade. Read it. This episode will be ready when you're ready. Just a heads up that I often use adult language to express my feelings toward the authors and their work, whether the characters need to get their shit together or I am saying what the fuck to Kristine for putting me through the loop and fooling me. Just please be mindful around listening ears. Books coming out this week. We've got Imposter by L.J. Ross, the week of February 3rd. And so if you want to check that out, please do. But without further ado, get ready, grab your favorite drink. Here is Kristine Delano. So today we've got Kristine Delano. We're talking about her book, The Lies We Trade. That book is available on January 20th. Kristine, thanks for joining me today. I'm always a sucker for a good psychological thriller, and this one, we'll get into it, but there was some Wall Street portfolio management. Some of that stuff went over my head, but it was really it was juicy chaos, and I
Good.
appreciated it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to dig a little bit deeper today.
Yeah. I always think of it as thanks so much for having me. And I always think of it as like you watch like Grey's Anatomy and you don't need to know all of
Yeah.
the medical terminology, but you need to have confidence that those characters know what they're talking about. And so that's really the line for me was I wanted to have that era of authenticity and like, oh, you feel like you're there, but don't worry about the financial jargon. Like it's not even part of like the real fun of the book. So
Yeah, it's a kind of that's just a setting and the
yes.
situation and how many moving parts, how much there corruption and greed there can
Yes.
be.
Yes.
People involved.
Mm.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So to get started, can you share a summary of the book so people could follow along?
Sure. So the book starts with Meredith Hansel. She is a portfolio manager on Wall Street, and she is having one of the best days of her career. She's about to celebrate $2 billion in assets by ringing the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange, which is just a huge celebration in general. I've done it a number of times, and it's exciting to be there. And she gets to be the party person for the whole thing. And in the midst of all that, she's forced to sign a restraining order against her second in command. And then she comes apart about some data that really indicates that there's some fraud at the center of her work. But I think what's really cool and layered about it is that her family is also involved. And so she just has to unravel what it is that's causing so much chaos in her work and her family life. And we follow her very closely for 300 pages.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So to get started, can you kind of tapped in because I read the author's note and all that
Mm.
stuff, and so I want to go over your background and how your professional and personal experiences led you to bring this story to life.
Yeah. So I get embarrassed a little bit that I hear like your show and other writers come on and they've known they were going to be a writer since they were like
Oh.
4 years old or something. And I had no idea of that. I was absolutely like a voracious reader. I read widely. I love so many different types of books, so many different types of genres. And it wasn't until I retired from my job on Wall Street, which was 23 years of working in this sort of setting of high powered, large divisions, big balance sheets. And And when I left, I had mentored a lot of people in my career. I had so many stories in my head and I started writing them. And at first, it was cathartic. It was just this idea of almost processing my own career. And it took me, this is actually the fourth novel I wrote, but none of the first three are
Mm.
published. They're really my journey to becoming a novelist and creating a story that was uniquely its own and not mine, which was important to me. I didn't want to call people out, but I wanted to take little bits of that cool trait and that interesting thing and just push it a little bit farther and create a world.
Yeah, it could be like, take it up a few notches
Yes,
and
exactly. Exactly.
yeah, make it a little chaotic, make it a little suspicious, make it a
Yes.
little juicy gossip, all that.
Yes, and the traits that I run into with like a chief legal counsel and he's like fighting to become relevant, that's absolutely reputation and relevancy and being the person in the room. That's huge in this world. I just dialed it up a few notches and made him that much more obnoxious.
Yeah, I it's so funny because I know familiarity with that world, and I'm like, just hearing just your brief insight so far, I'm like, it could never be me. I'm like not that person that needs to be the one in the room. I know where I'm good and I'm where I'm like, I don't need to be allowed to do a job or to like
Right.
be, and I don't even need to be noticed to know that I can be a rock star at certain things. You know what I
Mm,
like? It's some people like,
yeah.
but yeah, like you said, that world kind
Yeah.
of just demands it, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just like, that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, no, thank you.
Your emotional acuity is much higher than many of the people I worked with. So, congratulations.
Yes. So backpacking off of that or piggybacking off of that, what I wanna explore your first experience, like your experience as a debut author or debut published author, I should say, and get into your experience and, like, big lessons learned and stuff.
Yeah, I think I really had this thought that working in becoming like a full-time writer, which is I signed a 2-book deal, so I'm like actively working on the developmental edits of my second book. And I felt like this was going to be a lone wolf assignment. On Wall Street, I have big teams. I have bosses. I've got people reporting to me. I've got colleagues, so many people to manage. And I thought I would just be alone and have to do this thing. And then every once in a while, I'd send something out and someone would send me something back. I was really startled to find out what an amazing sort of writing community there is and how you really need to form it. You need to find critique partners, you need to find sort of encouragers, you need to find readers. You have an agent, a publisher, and the publisher has all these teams. I really had no idea of the world I was coming into, and that the time that I actually get to spend myself by myself writing is actually really precious time because a lot of it's
Mhm.
spent with other people and talking about things, writing, supporting their work, understanding more about the industry. So that was just a huge learning for me.
Yeah, I can see how it can be overwhelming because even like I've been bookish podcast, I don't know, gosh, for at least 5 years, and even then, when I first stepped into it, I didn't know yeah, I didn't know the half of it, and I didn't know,
Mm.
like, now that, like, I after speaking to authors and getting to know literary publicists and what they're
Mm.
doing and how what their process is, and getting to know the publishing world and how and then plus indie and self-publishing
Mhm.
boomed so much, which I think is great because I've read and interviewed self-published and indie published, and they could be just as captivating and great work pieces of work, titles as a
Absolutely.
traditionally published, and there's traditionally published works that I just weren't my thing. So
Right.
it could be like
Yes.
and I love that there's more out there, but yeah, I'm right there with you where it's like you and it's like it's almost like the onion layers, right? Like you're
Yes.
like, "Oh, behind door number 1, behind door number 2," and you know, and it's like carry that with you, right? Like
Yes.
you carry that nervousness and that a little I don't know, a baby doe eyes or whatever. What's that term where it's like you're new?
Yes.
You
Doe
carry that
eyes.
with
Yes.
yeah, you
Yeah.
carry that with you for sure. No, it's that's so fun. Congrats because it's not easy.
Mm. And the other thing I've learned is I had no idea that these characters would like infuse in my head. So like when I got to know Meredith, she would like
Yeah.
come to the grocery store with me and we went on flights together and she had this commentary running in my head and I got to hear her and I got to hear her ideas and it was like fuel for my book was to really get really deep into her world, not my
Mhm.
world, her world, and the way she saw things. And I had no idea my brain could manage multiple characters talking the same time at different things. So it's cool to give up your brain.
Yeah, from being in that industry of finance, management. Am I
Yeah,
using
yes,
those
no,
terms
those
right?
are
Okay,
great
cool.
terms. Yeah, you got it.
Uh, very analytical, right? I mean, into
Very.
this world, which is very creative.
Yes,
So I imagine was there any skills that you found that kind of transferred over or like,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like, how did
yes.
that go for you?
I recognize that I'm a big storyteller. And that was really successful for me in finance because in the end, it's all people and it's all people trying to get people to buy things and to invest in things and to decide to fund your division. You got to be able to tell a story. You got to be able to say why or where the attention in dollars. And so I feel like that has always been part of my lexicon. And into it with this book, which was great. The other thing is that I'm fairly good at proposals. My whole life has been writing proposals. So when it came to like querying and like putting myself forward to agents and then to publishers, I felt like I had a little bit of a leg up because I'm like, I know what it means I don't know the actual way to write a query letter, but I certainly know where a hook needs to go and why comp
Yeah.
titles would be important, all sort of aspects of what I feel like one of the things that when I talk to authors that are on this publishing path as well is that they want to put everything in this query letter to be like, I need them to know this and I need them to, I'm like, no, the only thing you want them to do is request your pages. Like that's the only thing you want them to do. You want them to read those pages and then ask for more. You don't need to tell them all the reasons why you write the book or, that you were inspired by your grandmother who saw the squirrel and blah, blah, blah.
That's so fun. That's, like, so funny. That makes so much sense
Yeah.
that you need to like, writing, even if it's technical, that you're still putting the pieces together that make sense and that
Mm.
will make the most impact and, like, almost a following a formula.
Yes.
If even it's, like, technical writing versus, like, ad copy versus creative writing like
Mm.
prose,
Yeah.
it's that a lot of that, it's, like, different formats and different audiences
Mm.
and different purposes, but you had the leg up.
Right.
You had, something to stand on,
Yeah.
and I think that's so cool. I never would have thought about that way where you're like, you had used storytelling in that space as well.
Right. And you just made me think of something too that another piece of it is pacing because no one
Mm.
is going to sit around and listen to me wander around my ideas or give lots of descriptions for things. Like I got to get to it. I got to know my elevator speech. I got to be able to like get somebody's attention in 15 seconds while I'm like chasing them out of a conference room to get what I need done for our next meeting. And I felt like that really helped in my writing too. It's just this idea of like, I have a sense of urgency in telling the story, which lends itself to thriller writing as opposed to, I don't think I would make a very good like historical fiction where we're like running through the meadows and things like that, which I actually enjoy reading. I can't write that way.
You could do a historical fiction on, like, similar to what Meredith is going through, but maybe relating it to a historical event or
Yes.
to the different setting. You never know. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, like, wandering through the
That's
fields of, like,
true.
Little House on
Very
the
true.
Prairie. It could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
I've read about historical fiction about a woman who was a junior curator for an exhibit during when Picasso died,
Mm.
and they did this whole exhibit, and without thinking, she was looking at the paintings at the exhibit that they chose, and, there's all this press there, like, there's this elite circles, and this is in London, and then she says out loud, she's like, "That's a forgery." And
Mm.
people who should not people hear her, and the wrong ears hear her, and then at, like, all things like, it's called The English Masterpiece, by
Okay.
Catherine Ray, and I've interviewed her as well. So no, because I like historical fiction
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Don't
Me too.
there are historical fiction
Yes.
where you create stories based on historical events or historical settings. You could create a juicy drama,
That's true.
character-based money mismanagement or corruption story
Yes.
taking place 60, 80 years ago.
Absolutely.
You never
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Don't sell yourself short if that's maybe what you wanna do.
Very true. Right now, I do not have the issue of not having story ideas. Like so it's exciting. I think opening up the world of like high finance place because stakes are so big. The reputations of everyone, these careers rise and fall on what have you done for me lately.
And,
Yes.
like, that's a whole nother, like, a mess, hot mess. She's got a whole more things to prove, and with such a male-dominated, and even then, there were certain circumstances where she was like, they were trying to take her down a peg or 2,
Right.
remind her of her place, even
Right.
if it's like, "Oh, yeah, you're a portfolio manager." I don't think they would have acted that way towards her if she were a man.
Right.
But it's
Right.
also that where it's, no, like, she's like, "Yeah, but you didn't bring in this money." Like,
Right.
she had to remind herself, and that sucks because men don't have to remind themselves about, like, what they've accomplished, at least.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was really interesting to explore. And also just like her perceptions of herself, because she's like, I'm a master of the long game. So she would let things go, but then she would also realize that it was her Achilles heel, because the more she let things go, then
Yeah.
people felt like they could step on her in certain ways. So she had to find her balance. And I felt like that really became an arc for her change, is to stand up for herself in times where maybe it wasn't the battle that she was wanting to win, but she knew in that moment that she needed to. And that was
Yeah.
fun for her to explore that with her, because it's absolutely a place where in high finance, you can't win everything. You can't always be the one in the room. You can't always be the one with the great idea, but you can't always be the person who lets somebody else have your idea. And so
Yeah.
it's definitely a balance.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, that's again, it could never be me because I'm just like, oh, I think I'd be like, I joke that it's like I'm sure if you listen to a couple of the episodes, I'm like, I'm such a boring character because I'm like, it's not my, like, fine, whatever, I don't care, like, I don't, it's not my problem, whatever, fuck you, like, peace
Moving on.
out, like, yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So what draws you to the genre? What made you decide, like, making this a thriller rather than, I don't know, anything else?
I actually didn't know I was a thriller writer at first. I just thought I was a women's fiction. I was going to explore the emotional and the arcs of the characters in ways that I felt were maybe some unique ways. And it wasn't until I had some early readers that were like, "Ooh, this is really thrilling. Like the way you've written these scenes." And I started to realize I read a lot of domestic thrillers, a lot of thrillers in general. And I was like, that's absolutely where I want to place this book. I want there to be the idea of, instead of the idea of maybe dead bodies around you, like dead reputations, like how
Mm,
can I achieve a level of tension and excitement and caring for the characters, even if you don't always like them, caring about their outcomes without necessarily shooting them or killing them off. And to me it was a challenge. Not that I won't write that, and in fact there's a time in the book where you're not sure if they're being, like, at what level of danger they're in. And so I feel like that will probably grow as I have a more of a portfolio of books, but it was fun for this book to look at it and say, all right, how can I achieve that level of tension without necessarily bringing in dead bodies? And that was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, I don't know, this person is sus. What are they up? And you never know who really is. Because I didn't know if I could trust her husband. Because it's
Yes.
like, I think even also in your, and we don't know if we could trust Betsy, even
Yes.
though seemingly she's looking out for her, but she was going about it in not a way that did not
Right.
come across that way.
Yeah.
And then,
And Lucas
her
too.
co
Like, what is he
yeah,
after? What is head of
yeah,
security after? Like, everyone has
yeah,
got their
exactly.
agenda, and we don't know those agendas, and you don't know who to trust. And that's, for
Yeah.
me, huge.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you add the doubt for the misleading
Yeah. Yeah.
misdirection.
But
It
it's
worked for me because
also
I was like, I
really,
don't even know. It's like, who? I'm like, I'm suspecting everybody, even the daughter. I'm
yes.
like,
You have to. You never know. And I feel like that's what finance is about, is you can form friendships, there's lots of things going on, but you actually really don't know who you can trust when you get down to putting together big deals and things like that, because
uh,
when you get that amount of money, that amount of reputational risk, that amount of making careers and things like that, people can surprise you with how they behave. And I wanted to explore that not everyone is all good or all bad. There's aspects to them. And then you mentioned your
yeah,
husband, and it was fun to
yeah.
explore a
Yeah, 'cause I mentioned
20-year
because I
age
read your
gap.
notes,
Yeah.
or I think your dedication,
Mm.
because you're like, "Oh, thanks to my husband, because you're not like, I had like, thanks to how you are, I had to do a lot of research of how this relationship is." I'm like, "That is so cute."
And I forgive you for all those hours.
Yeah, but yeah, with the age gap too, because that, like and here Meredith is like, he's still the sexiest man I've ever met. He's secure about the age gap, and
Yes.
it just adds to the human, the deep down, like, real authenticity of making them, like, more real, like,
Yeah.
realistic, of relatable
Yes.
to certain people.
Yeah. And I started that with this question. So many of the reasons why the characters are the way they are in the book were formed of questions in my head. And that question was, what happens if you're in a relationship with someone and it's not your own issues that are between you, but it's the perception of those outside of your relationship that harm you? And so when people call him her father, or when people are questioning who he is in relation to her, that has nothing to do with them, but he's allowing those voices in and
Yeah.
it harms them. And I feel like a lot of people go through that for a lot of different reasons, right? Like they allow the voices to come in, not only harming themselves, but also relationships that they have because of ugly perceptions. And so that was one way that I could explore that and then figure out whether they can overcome it or not, or if it just becomes another sort of nail in the coffin of their relationship.
Yeah, because I am a sucker for romance and the storyline, even if kind of like a struggling relationship, some of that stuff does like, my brain perks up a little bit, even
Yeah.
if it's, like, marriage on the rocks, love on the rocks, whatever, should I root for them? Because I don't know if
Mm,
I don't know what's the deal. But it's also, like I said, like, her inner monologue where she's just, like, kinda ruminating on his insecurities
mm,
and saying, like, "I don't understand, like, he's still so handsome, like,
mm,
he's like, I still, like, thinks he's so attractive, and I don't know what like, why he thinks this of himself," and it's
right.
things like that, it's like that adds to maybe romance isn't, because I do love romance, but it's like the 2 people
Right.
who have found love at some point, and they found connection, and now they're still maybe either trying to reconnect, or they're trying to see what they can do
Right.
because, well, she doesn't seem super angry, resentful, she
Mm,
kinda just seems a little defeated,
absolutely.
you
Great
know?
word. Yes.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
she's resigned to,
Yes.
"Okay, I'm gonna focus on what this because,
I don't know what
this
else
is
to
what I ha."
do with this
Yeah.
relationship. And I feel like when I see in media, whether it be in books or shows, you see a lot of marriages that are just heated. Their being on the rocks is just, it's catastrophic and there's
Mm.
fighting and all of that. But I have to say that what I've witnessed with marriages that have fallen apart around me, especially in my job where I work with a lot of men who you don't think
God,
care,
oh
but they're
my
in
god.
my office trying to get a female perspective. They have quietly quit their marriage and they don't even realize it until she's filing divorce papers. And they're in my office being like, what happened? And we go through it and I'm like, you quit your marriage. Do you realize you stopped talking to her? Do you realize you stopped engaging with her? Do you realize you stopped looking through the filter of love to her and you
Like,
looked at
stopped
her like,
working on it, like,
yeah,
or just participating.
yes, yes,
And, like, making that because it does, it's work, like, I've been with my husband for 16 years, married for 11, it's yeah,
mm,
they're point like, we go to couples therapy at once a
yes,
month because it's otherwise, like, we got to a point where I was like, "Dude, like, we need something
right,
because this isn't." I could see, like, where it was just we needed it. It wasn't like things weren't, like, super horrible, but I could tell that just we weren't identifying we couldn't, like, fit the puzzle piece.
mm,
We're like, "Okay, we've under" and usually, like, big things, big issues, it's no problem, there's no question, we're there for each other,
right,
not gonna be the problem.
yes,
Smaller issues, that's when we're like, "Whoa," and then
yes,
we just needed someone from with an objective perspective and who was, like, a specialist and who was experienced to be like, okay, wait, we'll look at it this way, or do you
mm,
see how this is this way?
right,
And this is what I'm hearing to help us look at it because it wasn't like we were disliking each other. It wasn't like we hated each other. It was just like something wasn't clicking with either of us. And it
right,
was just like, okay, if we want, we gotta put some more work in if we want to, because we got two little boys. We got an 8-year-old
yeah,
and a 5-year-old too.
yeah,
So I'm just like, and it's just divorce is expensive and it's exhausting. But no matter what you're doing, it's exhausting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's that's what that reminds me of. When you don't realize I'm either going through the motions or you're clearly putting your attention,
Mm.
all your eggs, all your attention and brain energy into one space instead of equally dividing it up. Or even if you can't stretch that far, you're making a choice.
Yes.
And that's God. I it's like to be a fly on the wall at your work, in your office, when people would come in and be like, "Oh my God, I bet you could write a whole book on that."
Yes,
Like,
yes. I'm gonna have to have a character that has to deal with that because it is huge, and I really wanted to expose some of those things. The other thing that I exposed in the book in marriage, which I saw all the time, was the weaponization of therapy. So just this idea of like the little things you learn in therapy and then you start to weaponize them against your spouse because you're using
yeah.
them to like prove to them that they're not doing the thing that they're. And so both Meredith and Clint in the book do that to each other. And I feel like all these like huge red flags that where you start to question, can they make it or can they
Oh,
not?
yeah, because he was like, "Do you want in?" And
Yes.
she's like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
Like, that was at the time, like, "I do want in, but, like, do you realize what's going on?" Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
just she's trying, she's like, "Oh, fuck, yes,
Yes.
okay, yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, oh, man, yeah, exactly." There's, like, so much there's, like it really is because poor Meredith, it's like, as a reader, I think I could identify, but she was also self-aware. Like,
Mm.
she knew, like, what her actions because we meet her when in the middle of that issue with her husband and that middle rockiness. We didn't see the rockiness lead we didn't see the leading up to it. We're seeing in the middle of it. We're meeting them in the middle of it. Home life, because we meet her and she's like super successful, like boss ass bitch.
Yeah.
But then we all behind the curtain her not to bother coming home. She's spending so many
Yes.
hours
Yes.
at work, and I was like, oh God, here we go.
And then
Like,
she like punishes herself, welcome her back in. Like she's like, how am I allowing this to happen to myself? So the self-awareness I think really comes from what is required of her in her job. She has to be extremely not only self-aware, extremely observant of everything behaviors, but it doesn't immunize her from having to go through all of the stuff. So even though she's aware and even though she sees it, she still is a participant in sort of the crumbling of the relationships around her, including Erica, her teenager, which I think was really fun to write as well because that's just sticky nowadays. Or I guess it's always been. My kids are older than yours, and the teenage part is it's just
yeah, I'm
hard.
not
And
looking forward to it.
yeah, there's
I
some
mean, there are
really
parts
great
I am,
stuff,
but
but
it's
it's
still,
hard.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be real with you. It got on my nerves because
Yes.
she was just like she was just being elusive, and
Yes.
she was like just but then it's like, okay, I was once a teenage girl, and it's like where like I could tell she was struggling with being honest, but she was like, her emotions were getting the best of her because she was dealing with something
Yeah.
pretty like traumatic, and
Yes. Because
was
her
like, and it,
identity is also put on the line here, too, right? Like she's known as
yes,
being this smart, capable, going to a great college, going to do all this. And now everything her mission is about to tank. And who is she allowing into her circle? And she's doing exactly
yeah,
what her mother did, which is just close down and like fight everybody who tries to get close. And she was tough. She drove me crazy as well. But I feel like it's funny, like parents of teenagers who read this book early and they've come back to me and they're like, oh my gosh, Erica is
yeah,
spot on our worst days. But then she's got this kind of love for her younger brother and
yeah,
calls him a
which
snot,
is
also gets him the
yeah.
puzzle and all that.
No,
Good
that's the
luck.
part where I mean, they're both boys, so I've heard that they're easier when they're older, but I'm also like, I don't know, the 8-year-old is already calling me bruh. Like, he's no, he's already getting too old.
Yeah.
Like last year, he's like, "Mom, I don't need you to walk me to school anymore,"
Mm.
because he could like it's like literally I could go to the corner and see the blacktop like of the school, and I could hear the bell from my backyard. So like he's very capable of walking to and from by himself. But I'm just like, because I would used to like take the dog with me and walk him to a
Yes.
certain spot and walk
Yes.
back, and now he's like, "Mom, I don't need you to like come get me. I don't need you to walk me anymore." I'm like, "You're 8 and a half. Like,
Yes.
what do you mean?"
Because you
I
see
was
it
just
as like an
like,
ending. He's just like, he sees it as a
yeah.
beginning. Like, I'm
It's like a
beginning to
big
be a big
deal.
boy. And you're like, It's the end of my little boy. So it's
I
like
know.
all the
It's
perspective.
funny because those are the type of traits that I see that come from my husband. He's like, "No, I'm capable. Like, I got this." Like, "What do
Mm,
you mean?" Like, I like, don't like it's so cute. It's so funny
mm.
to see that, and I'm just like, "Wait, I wasn't ready." I'm like, "I wasn't ready for that." I still got the 5-year-old, but I that he's gonna eventually next year or in the fall, he's gonna go to the same school. But
Yes.
luckily, he goes to a different door, so we still have to walk him to
Yes.
the door.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's that it's but I know, like, as a teenager, I don't know, they're gonna be smelly, they're gonna be it's different hormones, and it's gonna be interesting. I just say one day at a time. That's all I do
Right.
is
And don't borrow any of the trouble from the future. Like you just sit with them and when they want to still cuddle, you're just cuddling and you don't even
yes.
think about the fact that
I
when
know,
they're older and you
they
try to hug them and they
gravitate.
just tense up and you're just like, "What is stop it. Like put your
It's
arms
I
up."
know. Like, "No, just give me some love." Like, I still joke around with them, like, when I hug them, they're like, "Mom, what?" I'm like, "You're in a love trap. You cannot escape my love." Like, they're like that's what kinda turns into a game. They're like, "No!" But even then, it's like, when we're just, like, relaxing, when I don't, like, try to initiate the affection, they wanna be as close to me as possible. Like, I'll
Mm,
just read a book, and they'll be, like, on their screen time, and they'll just come up to me and lean against me or, like, use me as a
mm,
pillow, and so I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it." I'm like it's just, like,
right.
such a definitely,
Yes.
yeah, 'cause the dog is like that too. She's like an 11-year-old, like, ex and it's so cute to see 'cause, like, now she's starting to warm up to them and use them as cuddling
Mm,
pillows
yes.
too, because she's not small, so it's hilarious to me. But yeah, like, I'm but I'm
Mm,
also like, I'm gonna cherish this time while I
yes.
have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Something I love asking, what were the most challenging parts to write? What were the most enjoyable parts to write?
I open and close with bell rings. So the New York Stock Exchange closing bell and then the NASDAQ opening bell. And those are such like sentinel moments for people who work in finance who are really celebrating stuff. It's really hard to get on a bell ringing. It's really hard to get those kind of things scheduled. I had the opportunity to, my first bell ringing was ringing the opening bell with the New York Stock Exchange with the United Nations on International Women's Day about 10 years ago. And that was
Dang.
really,
Name drop, number
yeah,
drop.
and
That's
name drop
amazing.
United Nations anytime. Like
Yeah.
I just, what they do for women and what they do for girls is just amazing. And after that you get addicted. Just that idea of like opening markets and closing markets and really what our market means. So those scenes were so fun, but it also changes quite a bit, like the way the New York Stock Exchange does it and what they give everyone and the cadence of it and stuff. So I did a little bit of research just to make sure that 18 months ago when I did it, it hasn't changed remarkably from
Yeah.
that. So that was the really fun part. I think the harder parts for me were really making sure that when I had multiple people in the room and I wanted to convey how micro movements of them indicated their sort of emotional state.
Mm.
That's a real it's a real skill of Meredith is noticing people and noticing, how engaged they are or what if they're watching her at a certain time when they should be doing something else. And so I wanted to be able to those and talk about them without it being like dragging to the prose. So that was one thing. And
Mm.
then obviously the financial jargon because I felt like you have like an angel and a devil on your shoulders. I had a reader who, if you try to even mention anything in finance, they want to go to sleep. They're just like, don't even talk to me about Wall Street. And then, like, my colleagues who I know will read the book. And so, how do I write something where my colleagues aren't like, Kristine, we would never do it that way. It could never work that way. Like, this is a complete travesty. Or
You're
the
like, "It's
people
fiction."
who don't even care and are like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to puke. Like, how could I write it so that I could thread the needle and maybe people would give me a little bit of grace and be like, hey, get through I'm going to only have one sentence of jargon and then I'm going to move right back into it. But I think I had a amazing publishing team. Like my editors were great. Like they would write like gobbledygook and like this is like fix this. Give us an
Oh, that's yeah,
analogy, take it
kind of
out,
like
do
how
something. Yeah.
At what point they can recognize, like,
Yes.
okay, take a step back,
Yes.
like
And because I had wonderful editors who didn't know anything about Wall Street, which was perfect because they wanted me to get to the point. So there was good work that went into trying to do it. Did I strike the perfect balance? It is reader dependent. It's some people will love that this is like a almost like when you read fantasy novels, you want brand new worlds. This is like a brand new world you're going into and you're learning the magic system. But others will be like, oh, Wall Street's evil. I never want to read about it. And I'm like, okay, that's okay too.
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh, yeah, that's so true. I didn't really think of that because it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, when I opened the book, I did not expect it to be set in that world. I was like, okay, like, no, I'm pretty open-minded as a reader. Not like, I know for sure that's not going to be my thing. Cause I enjoy different genres.
Mm,
And like, if something's a little too drastic, then I'll go like, okay, I need a fluffy read. I need
right,
something
of
that's just
course.
like a palate cleanser. Yeah. That's like where I know, like, give me some fluffy romance, give me some like hot, sexy man and like pining over this badass woman, whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was going into it with an open mind and then like yeah, you're absolutely right. Like even when I go into a fantasy world with the world building,
yeah,
you're giving yourself time to get to know,
yeah,
oh, okay, like get used to it, get used to the term, get used to the voice, get used
yeah.
to I think I might have fallen on the side of like maybe trying so hard, but it relationships that helped balance it out,
Mm,
sure. That
yeah,
helped like get
yes.
that technical part of it, like the world part of it, the industry jargon. But then that's when I like snag the readers on that extra level is
Mm,
like, oh, this is like anybody whose marriage has broken apart because the person lived for their job, they know
mm,
what that's like. Or who's got like a teenage daughter at home who can't quite come clean about
right.
what's really going on.
Yeah,
So they've been there.
yeah,
Or like, yeah, like or who knows, like maybe there are people who understand the insecurity with the age gap. So it's just
yeah,
like adding those extra layers and like you kind of cue the reader into this woman who's like on the top of her game. And then, like I said before, it's like, oh, and then once you realize, like, oh shit, like, of course,
yeah.
something fell to the side because of her success,
Right.
unfortunately.
And just exploring what we talked about in the beginning too with like the dynamic of like no one's questioning Dave who runs head of sales with like what is his wife up to or like, does he get to see his kids and stuff like that. I know when I got media trained for the first Wall Street firm I worked with because I needed to obviously speak to the media and speak at conferences and things like
Oh,
that.
wow.
And
I didn't even realize that, like, of course, because it's like you hear about media training.
yeah,
I never would have thought, but that makes so much sense
yeah.
that
And only certain
people in
people
that
can speak. Yeah. And I
yeah. Oh,
remember
wow.
working with my coach and I was explaining what I was going to talk about. And she's like, okay, relax, enjoy yourself. I was way too like stiff and all of that. And so she's like, tell me a little bit about your life. And at that point, I was commuting to San Diego from Maine. I had two little girls and wonderful husband. And I was commuting like 4 days a month. And it was one of those times where I was away. And she was just like, oh, I can't imagine what you're doing. Like, wow, you really are sacrificing their lives for your career. And I'm like, you're my coach? Like, I don't really feel that way. I feel like my husband and I have a great partnership. Like, I really do stay on top of things. I volunteer at their schools when it's like a 3 hour time gap. So I've got my mornings free. And she was just like, oh, I just so sad what you're doing. And I'm just like, okay, can we
She
get
said that
back
to
to the
your
speech
face?
part? I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh,
This was the person who was media
yes. She was so caught up in the life that I had chosen that was putting my family at risk for not being,
that seemed the opposite of media training.
yeah,
Like, "Oh, let me make you self-conscious and doubting
yes,
every move that you've made up until now. Okay, by the way, your camera's right."
break me down. And I've always remembered that. Like, uh, it's just this idea of like, will I allow all these voices on the outside to tell me that I'm not doing a good job of being a mom or a wife or any facet of my career? What was really wonderful in my own life was that I had a husband that would defend me to anyone who would say, oh, it's really a shame that your wife isn't here to mother her kids, or it's really a shame that she's really sacrificing their childhood or something like that. And he would be the first one to be like, you have no idea who my wife is. And I'm like, oh, thank you, honey.
Yeah.
And that's why that
You're just like
whole,
heart eyes all over again.
yes,
Like,
and that whole dedication in the beginning. Yeah, exactly. It's like when
oh, that's
and
so
so it's like the
wonderful.
idea of like, what if you don't have a husband like that? Like, what if you've gotten to the point where your work and his perception of self are on like diametrically opposed
Yeah.
emotional frameworks? How do you get back? And it was definitely fun to explore that in the book.
Yeah, because that just yeah, absolutely. Because well, my job, I lost my job in March, but it was because basically our company got bought out, and then
Mm,
the year of protection, and I was like, so I was the only one, and going into like possibly a company getting bought out by a company that had its own already a marketing team that could do
mm,
everything that I was doing. And so after like so many protections had expired, and they've treated me very well. Like I've no qualms. They took very good care of me. They made it very clear, like not you did nothing wrong.
mm.
This is what we got. Like just a heads up, let us know. Like we're here for you. Like it was fine.
Yeah,
Like they did things right, and my job wasn't the only one.
right.
And
It's not a
so for the
firing,
like
it's just
yeah,
an elimination of position. Yeah,
it
happens
really
all the
is.
time.
It's
Yeah,
like your
yeah.
yeah, like your position where we're not gonna have this position, and it's fine. I get it. Yeah, for and then my husband, he was like, honestly, because he knows, like, we've been together for so long, and he knows I'm driven, and he knows that like I'm fully capable, and in my skills and my skill, like my skill set, and also like my ambitions and like what I know that I can do and
Mm-hmm.
how I take that, where I could take that. And so he knew, he's like, no, honestly, like it wasn't anything you did. And then even though he saw me, like I saw a career coach, I got my resume
Mm.
reviewed, I was applying to jobs, and then I was picking up freelancing work. I was like going off and trying to collect leads from like small businesses. And
Wow.
so I was like, he's like, you're doing everything you
Yes,
can,
yes.
and it's like but he was like, I think you're selling yourself short. And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe it's a woman thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it could just be a me personality thing, but he was like, "You need to like," I'm like, "I'm not gonna like beef myself up more than," but I've heard that that's true. That that's like men will apply it. Even men will apply to a job if they only meet like 70%.
Mm.
Women won't apply until they meet like 100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then plus like I could go off on a tangent, but just with application tracking systems,
Mm.
and there's like I know that I'm a rock star, but I know that there's like hundreds of people who are also rock stars, but who also their salary requirements might be lower because they have half the experience. I'm like approaching like I'm in my late 30s. I have a good
Right.
amount of experience under my belt. But yeah, no, that this is like how wonderful your husband is. That reminded me of how he was like, no, like I get it. He wasn't like resentful. He
Mm.
was like
Good.
he's like, "Not you really, you're
Yeah.
doing everything you can." And then so once I like got a new job and then when I was like, "Well, I have to be on site," and their hours are from 8 to 4:30, and there's hybrid available, but
Mm.
they onboarding and everything, they want me
Yeah.
to be on site,
Of
which I
course.
totally expected.
Yes.
So I was like, "So you gotta get up and get the kids going in the morning because I'm gonna be gone." Like,
Right.
and I'm in Midwest and I'm out the door by like 7:15, 7:20. And the kids, the older one, he doesn't have to leave till an hour after that. And luckily they're at the age they can dress themselves,
Mm.
but they still need to get fed. They still need to like, they don't understand, like, put your backpack together, like, oh, it's get your lunch,
Yes.
get your snack, where they still need like those steps.
Of
And so I'm
course.
like, honey, like you gotta be up. Like,
Yeah.
cause he works from home he has to be on site 2 days a week, but like on the other days he takes his time in the morning,
Yeah.
or he just has trouble like just getting like some people just are slow in the morning. They have trouble getting on with their day. And he's like, no, I was like, just so you know, unless this is what they want, like they want me to be there
Right.
for the first like at least for the first month. And he's like, yeah, no, that's fine. We got it. We'll do it.
Good.
We'll make it work.
Good.
Like he was like gung ho about it because he knew like it was like, oh holy shit. Yay, things are working out and it's a good fit and the pay like it's part time, but like the hourly rate is like on par with what I was at
Oh, good.
before. So
Great.
and I'm like Fridays off, fuck yeah.
Yes.
So but yeah, I was
Yeah.
just so you know, so it
Yeah.
was really funny that I'm like, okay, like everybody mostly people are still in bed by the time I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of that reminds me of where he's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do this. We
Yeah.
got this. Of like
Yeah.
supportive husbands, we love them.
Yes.
We love people that will speak up.
Yes.
We have people in our corner.
Yeah.
That I could see like that's hot if your husband's like, no, you don't know my wife. Like she She's amazing.
Exactly.
Like she's
Yes.
every woman. She's
Yes.
everything. I love that. I love
I
that.
know I've talked to a lot of women that are in your spot at that age and struggling with that. And I would say the two things that I always tell them is always think of your life in chapters, that like what you're dealing with now isn't going to be the same thing you're dealing with a year from now. And so just live in the space. And I'd said it before, like don't borrow the trouble from the future, and just it's every
Yeah.
day of just showing up for the thing that you're in the chapter for right now. And then every 3 months, sit down and be like, is this working? Like, what
Yeah.
major change do we need to make? Don't try to question yourself every day. And then the other thing I always say, which I had to remind myself a lot of this, was I need to judge the success of like life with the kids against what needs to happen, not what I want to happen. So
Yes.
like
Oh my God,
if the
that's so
girl's
important.
hair is like disaster and they're wearing like some sort of like purple polka dotted thing with a pink thing with a green headband, I'm gonna be okay. Like it's gonna be okay, you know?
What
I'm
is it like what Cynthia from Rugrats? What
yes.
was it, like Angelica's toy? She
Exactly.
that was such a throwback deep cut
I
Nickelodeon.
got
I
it.
can't believe I brought that up and
I
I
I
remembered it.
totally got your regret.
That's what that because you reminded like the hair
Yes,
crazy and the pink dress.
exactly.
Like
And
that's
you
what
got
that
to be
reminded me of.
like, yes, my little princess looks
Yes.
homeless, but we're okay. We're okay.
I know. Is her clothes clean? Okay. Like,
Exactly.
and she
Exactly.
got
She's
yeah.
clothed.
No,
She's smiling as she's leaving. It's just like, and so with your boys too, it's just this idea of like, could everything be better? Yes, but like we're happy in the normal that we've got,
yeah.
as opposed
It
to we're
really is.
unhappy in the sub perfect.
Yes, it's just I think I interviewed someone who was like he wrote a book and it was like I think he was like a family therapist and a child therapist and he was like you just have to be on this side of okay, on this side of better, 51%.
Yeah.
Like be above 50% on your worst day, be at 51% as
Right.
long as you even though that seems horrible like the bar is so low.
Yes.
He said that's like at that like that's all you got is just be on this side of okay. Like and I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh my God, but thank you." The first chapter was like it's okay to lose your shit sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Thank you."
Yes.
Like that was like that was so validating
And
because I
then
was
the
like,
next
"Oh,
chapter has to be, don't make me give you permission to do that.
you're right." Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was one of those things where it's like because it was focusing on like dealing with like different family life and
Mm.
like how so much changed for families, like not just people in general, but like he was like we families were not meant to spend 24 together
Right.
holed up in the house.
Yes.
So it was yeah, that was a whole thing. And he brought up a lot of good points and
That's
that like
great.
made me feel better because I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, no, but that's so funny because it is like where at the very least, I'm like, honey, you cannot wear that shirt 3 days in a row. We send you to school. They're gonna think that we don't wash your clothes. Like, and he just doesn't think. He's just like, yeah, I can wear it. I can wear it. Put shirt, shorts. He hates wearing pants. I'm like, okay, fine. If it's under 35 degrees, you're putting on pants. Like, I don't care if the sun's out. Like he just like it's hilarious, but it's like it's one of those things where yeah, you have to give yourself grace as parents.
Yes.
And it's even if like someone I'm sure is like a high achieving person, you're used to like having being able to, having certain results
Yes.
from your efforts.
Yes.
So
And
it's
certain
hard.
teams
Yeah.
that jump and perform and do what I say. So then I go home and I'm like, hey, team, why
Yeah,
are
they're
we
like,
not listening?
"Whatever, mom." Like
Exactly. And I think
gosh,
that's in the book, that's the dichotomy too, is just this idea of like, how is it that she can be so successful in one area of her life and completely lose it in another? And like, what does that do to your psyche where you
yeah.
are multiple people in your own life? Like, you can't show up as the same person. You can't show vulnerability at work. And so you get trained not to be vulnerable. And then you go home and you have this layer of protection about you, which doesn't enable anyone to get close to you. And so it was fun to explore that with characters without having to live it myself.
Yeah, it's a little therapeutic
Right.
to be like yeah, to be like, "Okay, I'm just gonna make it seem like I'm just gonna normalize this,"
That's right.
and yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so just a couple more questions before we wrap up here. Let's see. What do you hope readers get out of The Lies We Trade?
First and foremost, I hope that they enjoy this new world that maybe they don't have a view into, and that maybe some of the preconceived notions of what Wolf of Wall Street and other maybe shows that have depicted the space, they get a new appreciation for the kind of people that are flawed but are really in a lot of ways trying to bring money and access to others. So I'm hoping that it opens people's eyes to that. I also really feel at the heart of it, it's a redemption story. And not everything is nicely tied up at the end. But I think that that to me is life, that we don't always get all the relationships and all of the things that we want out of the effort that we put in, but that the arc that we have for the characters and for ourselves, where we start to use our self-awareness to really lean into others and have the risk of being vulnerable, like I said, and seeing the fruit of communication, vulnerability, kindness, compassion, and all of that, and starting to look at how we stop trading the lies and start accepting some of the truth about ourselves. And so I really hope that it's a fun thriller, that people are guessing like who the bad guy is and what happened and what Meredith is caught up in. But I also hope that they start to, readers really appreciate that redemption.
Yeah, taking that a little step further, I'm going to throw this at you. What advice do you have for Meredith? What advice do you have for Betsy? What
Mm,
advice do you have for Erica?
yeah. I think my advice for Meredith is that she recognized the early warning signs of quietly quitting her marriage and seek her husband and help earlier on when she starts to recognize. I My advice is not that she give it up, that she move out of New York City or move out of finance altogether and try to take a new job and try to be more compliant to her role. That I admire the work that she does and how good she is at it, but all of that self-awareness that she brought to work, applying it to her marriage and recognizing that the secrets that she was keeping when she thought would benefit others by keeping them only created division in her relationships. I hope that she learned that. Betsy, I my advice to her is really about maturity. She really got herself caught up in, before the novel even opens, is all this success, but unwilling to admit that there's a possible problem, there's a possible even defeat in her career, and instead try to investigate it, and she gets into herself so much trouble that by the time that she's willing to come clean, which is the start of the novel, she's at such a frenzied state of like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to put it all out there. And it's interpreted by the people that don't want her to be speaking as a way to get rid of her and a way to silence her. Advice really comes down to being aware of her own immaturity and making sure that she has created relationships that she can trust and people that she can talk to. Who else did you want me to?
Erica.
Oh, and Erica for the teenager. Oh my goodness. So give her mom a break. Oh my goodness. I think with Erica, I think it's an appreciation for the family that she has. I feel like her entitlement through the novel of just assuming that her parents were going to be there for her, that her parents were going to understand and clean the mess up, and all of that was challenging to both write about and experience. The first one is appreciation. But also, I think my advice to her is to just lean into who she is, because when the chips go down in her family, she steps up. She's the one who finds a way to get out of the robotics, and this is all potentially spoiler, but she does step up in those moments. And my advice to her is to lean into that and lean into who she is and her character moving forward, because she'll probably grow into a pretty amazing woman. But the secrets she kept and her shame really harbored her ability to have an authentic and truthful relationship with her parents.
Yeah, and I you did a good job of making, like, the father's reaction, like, realistic. He was
Mm,
just like, "Okay, I don't wanna look at it, I don't wanna, like,
yeah.
talk about it, but I have to
Yeah.
talk to you." It's
Yes.
like, oh, every dad's
And I got
nightmare.
to tell you, that has happened to more than one person in my life with iClouds, and all of that is pictures that never should have been taken, winding up places that they should not be.
It's
And
like you think
yeah,
that people do their due diligence or
yeah.
to protect themselves, but
Mm,
people are I I mean, like, I not to say I've never done anything like that, but it's just if, it's been a very long time
yes, yes.
before I thought that was, like, a thing,
Yeah.
but it like I said, I've been with my husband for, like, 16 years. It's
Yes.
it's if anything happened to him, God forbid, it was like I would be such a baby in the dating scene. I would, like,
Mm,
not have
right.
I don't even wanna think about it.
Yes.
Like, but yeah, 'cause it's one of those things, it's like, duh,
Yeah.
like, what did you think was gonna happen?
But for
Yeah.
her too, with Erica, she's so desperate at that moment. You know what I mean? And then she's just like, okay, now I've done something really stupid on top of something that was already happening in my life to tear down my reputation. Like she just piles it on herself. And then you've got Clint, who's right now he's 20 years older than most fathers of his age. So he's even out of technology
Oh my
being
god,
anything, right?
I remember, wasn't the school the secretary like, "Oh, your grandfather's
Yes.
here?"
Yes.
Like, oh my god, that poor
I
guy.
know.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. I
yes.
know, it's like, even though, like, I didn't trust him that much, it's like, as the story goes on, we kinda see, like, oh, like, he's kind of just, like, he's like, a victim of circumstance,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
he's just not to say that he didn't, like, have a part to play in what's going on with, his relationship and with his things that are happening, but it's also like, yeah, you feel for the guy. After a
Right.
while, I felt
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, like,
Yeah.
he's just a little bitter. He's just a
Right.
little
Yeah.
insecure,
Well,
and
and if
he's
you
got,
think about it, his career's been like a warden. So like he is like super capable, outdoorsy, can like tangle with a bear or what they like that whole brownie troop and all of that. It's like he is so capable, but he's allowing sort of these insecurities to like eat away at his own sense of self to the point where he no longer knows how to even respond to his daughter or respond to his wife. Like he's becoming erratic in the way that he can emotionally connect with them.
he's letting it get to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's yeah. Ugh, like, yeah, because even, like, if you wanna parallel it with, society today, like, yeah, like, men are the playing field is leveling a little bit, but I
mm,
don't feel for men who are like, "Wait, what the fuck?"
right.
Like, kind of getting a bad rap, but it's also like they're like, no, the saying is, like, "Not all men, but it's always a man."
Hmm.
But it's also like, yeah, it's hard to not overgeneralize.
Right.
I also feel for them, how the ones they're like, "Wait, like, what's this the whole world that just thinks that I suck?"
Everything we're trying to get away from is the idea of like being able to judge people and then know something about them. And now we've got men who are being judged. You know what I mean? Like we're peoples, and I worked with many men. Like my boss, my old boss, he got an early copy of the book and he was so excited. And I was like, okay. So just so you know, you are not in this book. And he's like, I never assumed I was in the book. I'm like, no, because you're gonna read things, and I just want you to know. Like you were not any of these guys. Like you were a good boss. You were internalized. He's like, oh, I'm scared to read this now. I know. Sorry.
I did try to, like, warn him, but then he was like, "Wait, I wasn't even thinking about
Exactly. I wasn't even
that."
thinking that you wrote me in here. And I'm like, yeah, because characters like you are boring. Like I can't like
You're unproblematic, that doesn't
exactly.
make for a
You're
good
like
story.
easygoing. You like understand. You're like willing to talk through things. Like blah blah blah. There's nothing interesting about that.
Yeah. It's so true. That's why, like, I love, even, like, I will always be an advocate for, like, female rage,
Mm.
even if it's, like, unjustified, I'm still like, "No, go girl," because I love when things get, like, messy and things are chaotic and things are just, like, even if a woman is toxic and problematic, I'm like, "Go. You go
Because you
girl."
can walk
Like,
away, right? You're like, "Oh, you go. Okay. Yeah, like, see ya."
like, "I'll see you in, like, 8 hours when I
Exactly.
can read again." Yeah.
Someone else can wipe that up.
Exactly, like, in real life, I'd be like, "I'm not gonna get too close to you,"
Right.
like, I
I think you're gonna need some help. Yes.
It's like, I do not wanna be in your circle. Okay, so this is like an a question I've been asking people lately. What do you do for self-care? Like, because some of these, subject matters kind of heavy, and I
Mm,
imagine that you got in the zone, you had to pull yourself out of the zone. What do you do to take care of yourself
mm.
when you're working on a project?
This is a really great question because I think that's probably the biggest thing if I'm going to be vulnerable, the biggest thing that I'm struggling with right now is that I was up and super active when I held my career. And now I find myself at my computer a lot. I have a standing
Yeah,
desk, so I try to lift it
yeah.
and lower it and all of that. And I live in Maine, but I still walk the towns and do all of that even in ice and things like that. But my self care, especially right now, is limited because of my limited time or my perceived limited time and my sort of addiction to my laptop. And it's something that I think I need to take more advice on is do I need to be
Mm.
setting more timers? I saw this fun little reel by Tosca Lee, who is one of my, or it was just a post on Instagram, but she was one of my, she's a New York Times bestseller author and she was one of my endorsers and she's amazing. And she was saying, don't eat carbs and make sure you're wandering around. And then she has a big bowl of Cheetos with chopsticks. And she goes, but if you got to eat Cheetos, make sure you eat them with chopsticks so you don't get your keyboard all
I
full
think
of
I saw that and I was like, "That is genius."
genius. And I'm like, you had me at don't eat the carbs, but now I'm thinking I want Cheetos. Like, this is
I'm a
not,
sucker for Cheetos too. I do love Cheetos.
yes,
Like amongst the lineup of chips, those are one thing that will catch my eye.
yes.
If it's not jalapeno kettle chips, I will choose the Cheetos. But that is so smart because everybody's
Jalapeno
like Cheeto
kettle
hands.
chips. Oh my gosh. Okay, now that's
I
jalapeno.
don't know if you
Jalapeno.
good. Like it's jalapenos, it's spicy, but it's flavor too.
I
Like
love the
you get the
flavor.
spice with the flavor
Yeah,
because otherwise, like I like spiciness, but if I can't taste anything
right.
else, it's like no,
What's the
thank you.
point?
Yeah, so no jalapeno kettle chips. I think it's like not Vicky's. It's something similar, but I feel like I see them in so many like deli or sandwich places
Mm.
where you could like choose like a bag of chips to serve with your sandwich. No, I recommend it for sure. But yeah, like that's so smart because I love Cheetos and it's like the Cheeto hands are a thing. Fingers.
Yes. Don't want that on my laptop.
I know, right? And it's like, oh, you're like, you don't have to wipe my hands every time I go scroll my phone.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, so let's see. Christine Delano.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Christine Delano, where can we find you online and on social media?
So I am on Instagram, KristineDelano.writer, and I would love to connect with people there. I try to put out a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I also have a podcast called We Talk Careers, which is not bookish at all, but it is a leadership podcast for women, men and women, but mostly women that I interview that have really high power careers. And we talk about the mistakes they've made and how they've pivoted in their careers and success. And people can check that out. And then I have a website, KristineDelano.com, with all my links, and it's been fun. Like that's another thing that I've learned is like readers like to reach out and to talk and like to ask me questions, and I am a extroverted communicator, so I love to answer.
That's awesome. I love hearing that from authors who they're like, I did not expect the connections, like
Yes.
how readers feel connected to that and reach out and be like, oh my God. I love that. I think that's so cool.
It's
I think
really
that's so cool.
fun.
Like I feel like that's like one of the facets of like being an author, debut author, being an author in general.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you've connected, made that
Mhm.
connection and you're seeing it. And that's like an extra thing that you take with you
Right.
as you're going forward in
Yeah.
your writing journey.
Yeah. Cuz these things are expensive. I feel like I want people to know that there's a lot of heart and tears and work that goes into it, and I want them to know that they can connect and that like we can answer questions and I can take their ideas, and like I feel like this is a sort of a trust exercise of putting this out into the world and not just like standing behind it and being like take it or leave it. Like this is part of me and what I believe in, and so I definitely encourage folks to reach out or give me ideas or thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Oh, real quick, are there any new projects that you're allowed to talk about? Do you wanna
Mm.
talk about them?
So I mentioned that I just sent my second book in, and we'll be getting developmental edits on that. It is a sisters book. They are estranged sisters. One's a journalist set to take down the other sister of a Wall Street firm. It's super messy. It is a dual timeline, dual POV novel, so quite a
Oh,
bit different
okay.
than this one. I'm really excited about the genesis of it and where it's going. And yeah, so that will be out probably a year from now. And it's amazing how
Nice.
long things take, but I'm super appreciative of it because there's a lot of work that goes into
Yeah.
every bit and all the teams and all of it. So I like a little delayed gratification. So I'm okay with it.
It's it takes the time that it
It
takes,
does.
and there's a reason because it's like I feel like if it took, if it took 6 months, you'd be like, "Oh my god, it's over." Yeah. So you gotta make sure that you do the due diligence and get all those cross the T's, dot the
Yeah.
I's, like, do, like, everything that this is, like, maybe not sexy, but it's necessary.
And it's,
Like,
I think about this book, The Lies We Trade, I had a terrible title. They bought the book and they're like, yeah, we're going to be retitling that. And
what was the title, if you don't
oh
mind?
gosh, it was The Extortion Embrace. Like, what is that? And so
Maybe that was a good call.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad you were open-minded to, like,
100%
like,
because
change it.
I know, like, and that's one thing about working in Wall Street and working on big teams and things like that is that you really understand your strengths and you fill in people on your weaknesses. And I'm like, oh, titles, I've never studied them. I don't know the psychology behind what it is or like how you do it. Covers are the same way. Like I can have an idea of like that's a pretty cover, but I know thrillers don't want necessarily pretty covers. So it was really great to have a team that's like, okay, this is why we're thinking about it. This is the SEO of it. This is the whole sort of perspective on titles and covers and all of that. And those all things take time. And so I really appreciate
Yeah.
that people could tell me the truth and I was like 100% yes, I
'Cause
love that title.
that's not a hill that you wanna die on if it means, like, your book won't make it. Like, you're like, "No." You're like, "No. Oh, okay. Yeah." Like, you're
Yeah,
just like, "Oh," like, "Alright." Like, you wanna work with them, and
right.
it's a good sign where they're like, "No, this is good, but we gotta work on that."
Yes, and I've got pretty thick skin, and to me that means that I want to always be open to like there's a perspective that maybe I haven't thought of or whatever. This
Yeah.
was an easy one where I was just like, yes.
It just, like, just put it untitled and then just be like, "Well, what do you think?"
Yeah. I know, like, what other options do you have? I'm like, it took me forever to come up with a bad one. You want me to give you more bad ones?
I thought I was done.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, so Kristine Delano, The Lies We Trade, that comes out on January 20th. Thank you so much. This was such an enjoyable conversation.
Oh,
I appreciated your vulnerability and answering all the questions and getting into like, juicy stuff.
yeah.
And if and when you are ready to promote your next work, feel free to keep in touch. I'd love to chat again.
Awesome. I would love it too. Thank you so much for taking a flyer on a debut author. I know it's you never know. So thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
And there you go. That was Kristine Delano talking about her book, The Lies We Trade. That book is available now. Check out the show notes where you can find Christine's links to pick up the book, find her on social media, all that good stuff. In the show notes, you'll also see where to find Cantina Book Club on your favorite book communities, such as Bookstagram, Book Talk, BookTube, Facebook, and all that good stuff. I would love and appreciate it if you could hit that follow and subscribe button so that you never miss a beat and about book reviews and author interviews that I'm covering. And if you have any book loving friends, please share this with them too so that they never miss a beat. Another way to help this podcast is to head on over to your favorite podcast player and give Cantina Book Club a rating and review. It helps me reach more potential listeners and readers like you. And that goes for any podcast that you listen to. Seriously one of the easiest ways that you can help out. If you need book recommendations, head on over to cantinabookclub.com and for you get more in-depth book reviews of all genres. While you're at it, you could subscribe by entering your email on the website so that you get book reviews and author interviews directly into your inbox. If you want to support Cantina Book Club even more, you could donate by finding the form on cantinabookclub.com cantinabbookclub.com, whether it's a one-time donation or as little as $1 a month. I seriously appreciate anything that you do, and I will share my appreciation with something special, including a shout out. And finally, one of the best ways to help authors promote their works, so head on over to Amazon, Goodreads, Storygraph, anywhere that you find your readings and your book recommendations. Give the title a rating or review. It seriously helps out so much, almost as much as posting on social media and tagging them. And as always, thank you so much and see you next time. Cheers.